Welcome to Nach Simanim. I'm Jacob Thomas, and today we will be learning Shmuel Bet, perek Chaf Gimel. We begin this perek by a description that this was David HaMelech's last poetic, with prophecy, declaration, spoken with the Spirit of God. And he describes a righteous ruler who governs with the fear of God, and describes him as a clear and bright light in a cloudless morning sunrise. Something beautiful, something that you want, something that you want to strive towards, something that you want to take a picture and capture, at least nowadays. And he affirms that his household will have an everlasting covenant with Hashem and will be secure and will make the ultimate salvation in the end of days. We then have a description of the inner circle of the three elite warriors, Adoni, Eleazar, and Shammah, who the first one slew 800 soldiers at one time, the second stood firm while others were tired and scared, and how the last one defeated a plot of defended an entire plot of land single-handedly while everyone else fled. He stood in the middle and defended it because Hashem helped him in victory. We then have a description that while David was in Dulam, the Plishtim were in Beit Lechem. And David, in this battle, became thirsty. He just said out loud, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I had water?" So there are three men. They broke through the Plishtim lines, drew their water, brought it back, and risked their lives to get their king water. And David sees this and he says, "I can't have people risking their lives just to bring me water. I refuse." And he poured it out and used it as a offering to God instead, showing the care he has for a soldier. Then we have the description of Benaiah ben Yehoiada, where they achieved incredible fame for their bravery, and how he went down in a pit on a cold, snowy day and killed a lion single-handedly. We then have, he also fought a towering Egyptian giant who was armed with a massive spear, while he was only armed with a single staff. But Benaiah was able to take the spear out of the giant's hand and kill him, earning renown. Many of these people described in this perek, we do not actually see them anywhere else, but these must have been very great warriors that just didn't have stories that would make us connect closer to Hashem and do tshuva in the same way that everyone else did. And if we had every single story, I'd have to be doing a lot more of these prakim, which wouldn't be a bad thing. There'd be more Torah. As a recap, we have the final words of David. We have the three mighty men. We have the well of Beit Lechem, in which the David gets water. We have Benaiah's fame and the description of other great men who helped David, but are not necessarily described in other places. Must have been great men, but who knows? We are in perek Chaf Gimel, so just like Zichru, we use a kugelach, which is a game kids play and is played with golden cubes. So in the pictures, we usually just have golden cubes. Chaf Gimel, kugelach. David gathers together an army of mighty kugelach with swords and shields. This reminds us how David, in the final prophetic words, describes his connection to God, and many of the mighty men who did amazing things and have great deeds, killing a lion, protecting a city, bringing him water, and David has many, many great warriors. So, one more time with the simon. David gathers together an army of mighty Kugelach with swords and shields. We're now going to do a 4 perek back chazar, starting with perek Yud Tet, in which we use a yacht. David returns to Yerushalayim on his yacht, regaining his status as king. This reminds us how Yoav went to David and says, "Stop crying and mourning your son, or else everyone who protected you is going to leave you because they're offended by this." So David stops, he comes back, he's brought back in open arms, he rewards those who helped him, bringing back Barzillai's son, and returns to his throne as king. But a little bit of a tension starts, leading to perek Chaf, in which we use a cafe. A wise woman stops the angry cafe customer from rebelling. Or you could do, the wise woman stops the angry customer from destroying the cafe. Which would remind us how Shimei begins a revolt, gathering the 10 tribes because they were not the first to re-anoint David. David then sends men to try to track him down, and he is hiding in a city in which they're going to destroy the entire city. A woman comes and says, "Don't destroy the entire city, we'll give you the man." The next day, his head is thrown over the wall, and the wise woman saves the entire city from the hands of David's soldiers. Now, perek Chaf Aleph, in which we use a car, because Bostonians pronounce car as ka. Ritzpah places the dead bodies in the trunk of her car to guard them. This reminds us how there was a famine. David asks God, "Why is this famine happening?" God tells David it's because of Shaul killing the Gibonim. The Gibonim, in return for the horrible acts that Shaul did to them, ask for human life in return. David then takes some of the children of Shaul, who they asked for, to then be given to them, that the Gibonim then kill them. Ritzpah, the mother of these children, decide to stay day and night with these bodies to protect them from any form of vulture or other scavenger animal to protect them. So now on to perek Chaf Beis, in which we use a cab. David honks the horn of his cab in celebration of Hashem's deliverance. This reminds us how in this perek we have the long Tehillim, which is actually repeated in Tehillim slightly differently, that David writes, where he praises God, and it is to Hashem for his God saving him, building him up, protecting him, Magdil Yeshuot Malko, and how he has an eternal dynasty. We're now going to do a 10-question pop quiz on this sefer. In which perek does Natan HaNavi tell David the parable of the rich man who stole the poor man's lamb? Shmuel Bet, perek Yud Bet. In which perek do we have David's 3 top soldiers? Shmuel Bet, perek Chaf Gimel. In which perek does Hashem promise David an eternal house and dynasty rather than a physical temple? Shmuel Bet, perek Zayin. In which perek does David capture the stronghold of Tzion and rename it Ir David, the city of David? Shmuel Bet, perek Hey. In which perek does a 3-year famine strike the land due to Shaul's sin against the Gibonim? Shmuel Bet, perek Chaf Aleph. In which perek do we have the description of the man who killed the lion in a pit while it was snowing? Shmuel Bet, perek Chaf Gimel. In which perek does Shimei ben Gera pelt David with stones and curses him along the hillside of Bachurim? Shmuel Bet, perek Tet Zayin. In which perek does David speak to Natan about living in a house of cedar while the ark is inside curtains? Shmuel Bet, perek Zayin. In which perek does Amnon act sick to deceive his sister Tamar in the royal house? Shmuel Bet, perek Yud Gimel. In which perek does Ritzpah bat Aya protect the bodies of her sons on a rock from the birds and beasts? Shmuel Bet, Perek Chaf Aleph. Shmuel Aleph bonus question. In which perek does Shmuel set up Even Ezer stone after a miraculous victory over the Plishtim? Shmuel Aleph Perek Zion. In which perek does Devorah and Barak lead the army against Sisera and Yel defeats him? Shoftim Perek Dalet. That is it for today. May we be zocha to finish all of Nach, one perek at a time, and remember it day after day. Have a wonderful day.